Hello, Kat here. Today I'm doing a book review for The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde by Junot Diaz. It's a contemporary fiction work published by Riverhead in 2007. The novel is set both in New Jersey, where Junot Diaz grew up himself, and also the Dominican Republic, the country where Junot Diaz's family is from. He considers himself American Dominican. So let's just get into the story a bit. So the main character is Oscar, and he's an overweight, geeky guy obsessed with Lord of the Rings. He wants to be the next Dominican Tolkien, and he's obsessed with writing and reading. The one thing that he loves more than all of those kind of nerdy hobbies is women. So he loves girls, and he really wants to find a girlfriend, he wants to fall in love, but obviously the world isn't making it that easy for him. He doesn't have a lot of confidence, he's very overweight, and he's really shy around girls, and he doesn't really have like the smooth guy lingo that some guys have. Another thing that he thinks might be hurting his chances with women is the fuku, or the family curse. We learned that Oscar believes that the fuku, or the curse, has followed his family from the Dominican Republic and is basically haunting its way through the generations and basically hurting people's chance at happiness, at love, at long life. You can believe it or you cannot believe it, and even Oscar doesn't know. There's no real, and this is the element of magical realism that is threaded throughout the novel. Other than that fuku element, I feel like the novel is mostly realistic fiction. So the story follows Oscar's life as a Dominican boy growing up in America, and also comparing it against the history and the life in the Dominican Republic, especially under the dictator Trujillo. He follows his life and the two paths of the history of the Dominican Republic, interweaving with Oscar living in America and then also flying back and forth from the Dominican Republic to visit family and friends throughout his life. And as Oscar finds that he has no real place in either country, he turns more and more to science fiction and fantasy realms as a way of escapism. He deals a lot with alienation, even though he is within the Dominican Republic section of his area in New Jersey. He still finds that he can't find anyone like him there. He should feel at home there, but he doesn't. He's an outsider even within his own community. There are so many references made in this book, and the majority of them are to Lord of the Rings, I believe. There are so many references that at times there are huge footnotes. I am not even kidding. Footnotes that are half the page. Isn't even a footnote at that point, but yeah, so huge sections of footnotes at the bottom of the page that I found quite distracting. And also, I'm just gonna say, I have read The Hobbit and I have not read the others, and I'm not a huge Lord of the Rings fan or guru, so those were quite distracting to me. And also, I kind of understood what he was saying, but the reference didn't really resonate with me. Something else that was lost with me was a part of Junot Diaz's writing style. He wrote a lot of the book in Spanish, Spanglish, or neologisms, which are area-specific slang that isn't in the Spanish dictionary per se, but it's kind of localized slang that people would be able to pick up on from the Dominican Republic, especially maybe people from the Dominican Republic that were living in America. And so I don't speak Spanish, I don't speak Spanglish, I don't know anything about the neologisms, and I also don't speak Tolkien, as it were. So a lot of the references and a lot of the language was lost on me, so I think maybe I didn't understand 5 to 10% of what he was writing, especially any of the Spanish bits, and at first I was a bit sad because I was like, oh, I wish I had read it in Kindle because I could have looked up what the words were. But then I realized just how saturated the book was with Spanish that I kind of felt a little defeated, because there's no way that I would be able to look up each word and maintain continuity with the flow of reading. It would be more like a homework assignment where I'm trying to translate a book that is Spanish. Same as the Tolkien references. I feel like if I was Spanish speaking, this book would be so much more clever and so would resonate so much more with me, but I'm just kind of the wrong audience for this book, I think, because I don't understand. I didn't understand. So I feel like a lot of the elements where the praise was so high, his writing style and how he slid in references and the smooth combination of English and Spanish. It's really amazing probably if you speak English and Spanish, but I don't, so I didn't understand. However, the reason I don't have my book with me now is because I'm having my fiance read it, and he does speak English and Spanish, and he's a huge Lord of the Rings fan, so I'm dying to see what he will think of it. However, he is a bit of a slow reader. He has not as much free time as I do, so he probably won't finish it until like into the next month. So I figured I would just do the review now and I'll see what he finds out later. I'm really curious to see if he finds it more interesting, more clever than I did, but let me know what you thought. If you speak Spanish, or if you don't, if you found it really distracting, or if you didn't mind it at all and you just breezed right over the words and you didn't care because you could kind of figure out the context. And also let me know what you thought of the Lord of the Ring references, if you got them, if you didn't. I don't know, I felt like I was kind of left out of a conversation throughout the whole book, but I maybe should have known that, I guess. I didn't think it would be as much as it was, like, Lord of the Rings, Spanish, Lord of the Rings, Spanish, and I was like, oh, I don't know anything that's happening. But yeah, so anyway, let's move on from the writing style down to the characters and representation. So while there aren't really that many LGBTQ elements, I don't think there are any actually, one element that I found really interesting that was explored was within the Dominican Republican community, the expectations that are given to genders. So women are expected to be very feminine and taken care of by the man and absolutely submissive and listen to the man. And the men are supposed to be really slick with women. And that is a main tenement of the plot because Oscar finds himself always on the other side of that fence. Like, he can just never get there to be like smooth with the ladies, and it's something that is brought up by like all his friends, all his family, and it's kind of just expected. Like, and he knows in his heart that like he should be smooth with the ladies, and he's like, oh, why am I not smooth with the ladies? Like, I'm Dominican Republican, it's in my blood, something's wrong with me. So I found that an element that was really interesting. However, other than that, focusing still on Oscar, I thought that it might be a redemption story because he starts out such an underdog, and the setting was so perfect for a redemption underdog story. I was a bit puzzled and I couldn't really understand Oscar, and I thought that his actions were really quite selfish in the end. So that leads me straight into the ending. Some people might argue that the ending was the completion of a redemption arc. However, I just found it extremely selfish, and he put a lot of people in danger, and I really could not agree with his actions. So I know that a lot of people praised the book and said it was amazing, but in the end, I didn't like the ending, I didn't like the character, and I couldn't really connect with the elements that were apparently so hyped up as so cool. The writing style, the Spanish situation, and the Lord of the Ring references, the like things that make the book what it is, I just really couldn't understand. So I feel like I was not the perfect audience for this book, and it did win the Pulitzer Prize, so obviously there is a massive audience for this book, and a lot of people have a great appreciation for it. Overall, my total average of this book is 3 stars. So it just wasn't my cup of tea. So this wraps up my review for The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde by Junot Diaz. And please let me know what you think of the book, and if you enjoyed this review, then please go ahead and subscribe or hit the like button, and I will talk to you another day. So happy reading! See you! Bye!